Universal Pictures and Imagine Entertainment cordially invite you to the Joseph McTeague estate, where the entire McTeague family is eagerly waiting for their beloved Uncle Joe to die.
No. My lawyer says I can turn all my money over to one person.
And who would that be?
Me! Forget it. They don't deserve anything.
You bastard! Never have no love.
Oh, my God.
Everyone, this is Molly. They think I'm going to give her all my money.
God knows I'd give her all my money.
Her tongue is practically in his wallet.
She seems to spend most of her time swimming in the nude.
When she's through with him, there'll be nothing left of him but a smile and an old hat.
Can I ask you a personal question?
All right.
What are your breasts doing on my uncle's eyebrows?
Isn't our self-respect worth more than any inheritance?
No!
No!
Excuse me a second.
So you're interested in money, huh?
Need $10 just coming here. I'll get another 20 if I kiss you. I'm thinking about it.
From the producers of Parenthood and the director of My Cousin Vinny comes a comedy about a family like yours.
You wouldn't hurt Daddy.
And mine.
Let's go break the pinata.
Only a lot more.
Oh, I had no idea just how sick you guys were.
Greedy.
Come spend the day with us.
Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, Nancy Travis, Ed Begley Jr., Olivia D'Abo, and Phil Hartman. Greedy. Where there's a will, there's relatives.
I mean, such a star-studded cast there. Not only do you have Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, Nancy Travis, Olivia D'Abo from The Wonder Years, Phil Hartman, Ed Begley Jr., but you also had Colleen Camp, Jerry Burns, Kevin McCarthy, Candy Alexander, Tom Mason, Austin Pendleton, Eric Lloyd, the little kid from the Santa Claus, Kirsten Dunst in one of her early film roles. Just a phenomenal cast for this movie, and the trailer was really funny. And it looked like for the first, at least in the first half of the movie, it was really fun. It looked like it was going to be just as the trailer presented itself. It was going to be really funny. It was going to be very inventive. But then the second half happens. This is one of those movies that starts off really strong, and then the movie just kind of falls apart. And I think because of this, I can tell you why I think this movie doesn't really work as well as I thought it was going to. I think because they took a concept that should be really silly. The trailer was pretty much trying to sell itself as kind of a slapstick comedy, a slapstick ensemble comedy, but it just takes itself way too seriously once we get to the second act of the movie. And then by the third act, they just really, really fall apart. Like, I don't know what happened in between those last two compared to the first half of the movie and from the second half on, because man, this movie really lost the point altogether after that. And it was a shame, too, because this movie had so much going for it in the first half. But a lot of the funny stuff you saw there in the trailer, there really wasn't anything that funny. There wasn't really anything that dark. I'm not expecting like a hard, dark comedy, but you could have thrown in a little bit of black comedy elements to it. I mean, this is the same guy that did My Cousin Vinny, the director, Jonathan Lynn. This is written by Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel, who also wrote City Slickers and why am I forgetting the other movie they did? A League of Their Own. That's what I was thinking of. And they also did Mr. Saturday Night. So there is a good writing team here and a good director here. Just not very good execution. Like I said, the first half of the movie, really funny. Actually shows off what the trailer kind of promised you, but after that, it just kind of falls apart. There's just nothing really all that funny. It really lands into sitcom territory in terms of how they resolve this. It's not really that enjoyable. It's a movie that really slacks off big time in the second half, and you just wonder what went wrong here. Like, why did they think they had to go in this direction? And like I said, it's a shame because this movie clearly has some ambition going to it, and it was funny for the first maybe about 45 minutes of the movie, and then that second half happens, and the movie just like falls off just like that. And yeah, it's a shame. There was a lot of potential there. It started off strong, then just fell off a cliff. That's pretty much all you can say about Greedy, a movie that high ambitions just didn't stick the landing in the end. It's a shame, too. So with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Charlie Sheen and Christy Swanson in The Chase.
All units, code 503. Stolen vehicle vehicle, 89 Volkswagen Rabbit, white.
Jimmy, don't do it! Grab their guns. Do it now. Kick them over to me. I said kick them over to me, Pele. My name is Jack, and you are?
Natalie.
Millionaire Dalton Voss's daughter is being held hostage by this man.
You down to Mexico much?
No, boy.
Because that's where we're headed.
This is Chief Boyle. Get after that BMW.
Domino's Pizza! You hurt my little girl, Hammer? I swear to God, I'll kill you myself! Why me? I go in for some cigarettes, and I wind up kidnapping the daughter of Dalton Voss. What are the odds?
Whoa! Did you see that? That medical school truck is spilling out cadavers.
Now that's disgusting.
Okay, you know, honestly, I think we could stop right there, because I think you could pretty much see why this movie didn't work. Like, the first half of that trailer alone is just stuff that you've seen so many times in generic action movie trailers. Like, you've got the guy on the phone threatening somebody else on there. Like, you've got the people that end up getting together. It's just, you know what it kind of reminded me of? Does anyone remember that when the disaster ride was at Universal Studios and they had that fake trailer with a rock in there? It reminded me somewhat of that, except that one was obviously a fake trailer, but this one was supposed to be taken seriously, and there's just nothing in here. Like, their attempts at comedy aren't really all that good, despite the fact that you got two pretty good actors in Charlie Sheen and Christy Swanson in here. They really don't work off each other here. I think the movie tries a little too hard to be like the 90s version of Bonnie and Clyde. Like, they're trying to be the new generation Bonnie and Clyde, and it's just like, it just doesn't fly. It just doesn't really get anything going, because you could pretty much predict everything that's going to happen. You could predict the jokes, you could predict the characters, and it was a movie that I think was clearly trying to sell more of its soundtrack, which had like a alternative music aspect to it with bands like Bad Religion, NOFX, Rollins Band, even Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers shows up in here, and you see him later on in the trailer. But I just didn't get anything out of this movie. It just wasn't funny. The action wasn't really all that good. It was like very mediocre, to say the least. I guess if one thing is good going for this movie is that they kind of have a decent satire about the television news industry and how we overhype stuff, and how they try to dramatize everything so they have bigger ratings for it. But it doesn't really do it all that well. I mean, I give it credit for at least doing that, but I've seen this done so much better, but in other movies. But that's pretty much all I got for you on this one. The chase really was not really all that interesting. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Gina Davis starring in Angie.
Excuse me, she's having a baby with maternity.
When Angie needed a friend to count on,
Good friend.
Tina was always there.
You got a boy. Do you think I'm a boy?
Now, Angie needs her more than ever.
I love him so much, but is that enough?
And their friendship will have to survive the greatest test of all.
You got a baby now, Angela.
Don't deserve him. You deserve him. You're his mother.
Hollywood and Caravan Pictures present a very special motion picture about the choices we make.
It's funny how having a kid changes everything. I understand.
The challenges we face.
I screwed up, okay? I screwed up big.
And the love that sees us through.
I promise I won't let nobody hurt you ever.
Academy Award winner Gina Davis. Angie. Directed by Martha Coolidge. Rated R. Starts Friday, March 4th at a theater near you.
Yeah, a little word of advice. If they're talking about how important the movie is and how it's a special movie and it's supposed to be a big Oscar contender, and yet it comes out in early March, chances are it's not really all that special. And yeah, Angie is definitely not that special. It's a movie that really, like, even for somebody as great as Gina Davis, she can't save this movie. It's a movie that's just a melodramatic movie that just feels so manipulative, trying to get those cheap emotional aspects out of you, and it's just Oscar baiting. It's trying to give her another Oscar-worthy performance, and it doesn't work. There's nothing exciting about this character. There's nothing exciting about this story whatsoever. If the only thing you could say about this movie is that it has three of the stars of The Sopranos in it, James Gandolfini, Ada Turturro, and also Michael Rispoli. If that's the best thing you can say about this movie, then chances are that this movie was never going to work for the beginning. And you could probably see why it came and went. And Yeah, you could definitely see why. It's just not an intriguing story. It's Oscar baiting. It's trying to be that type of movie where it's gonna be an awards darling, and it's nothing like that. Like, it really isn't anything like that. That's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So that's Angie. On to the next movie, and guess what? Orion Pictures is got to get all those movies out there while they're filing for bankruptcy, and here's yet another one, China Moon.
Talk to me, baby. Tell me.
Kyle Bodine is a detective who knows his job.
Kill someone in Brayton, Kyle Bodine's gonna get you. You always screw it up sooner or later.
And knows what he wants.
Am I safe talking to you?
Live in dangerous times.
And we meet in dangerous places. John's around.
But he doesn't know her.
I'm in a trap. I can't get out of it.
Whatever you want, I'll get. Whatever you need, I'll do. I love you.
Get away!
Here we go.
Get away!
When Kyle Bodine crosses the line,
You said you'd protect me. Do it now.
there's no crossing back.
If this was murder, someone knew what they were doing.
Secrets will be revealed.
We found something.
I just want to know the truth. Tell me the truth.
I am.
And lives will be destroyed.
She's got a reputation all over town for having her way with men.
That's all.
I don't want to hear any more lies. No more lying.
China Moon.
So yeah, filmed in 1991, but shelved for 3 years because, of course, like I said before, Orion Pictures was going through bankruptcy, and these movies were getting released at various points in time because really nobody thought anybody was going to go see them, and this is one of those movies that maybe could have been an awards contender if it wasn't trying to be so manipulative or trying to overact too much for an Academy Award. I mean, you got Ed Harris and Madeline Stowe in here, and even Madeline Stowe's trying to. I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but there's a scene in that trailer where it literally looks like her character from Revenge. I mean, it's basically almost the same thing except for just small little differences, and there's nothing exciting about this mystery whatsoever. It's a movie that really, you could probably see why it was on the shelf, but yeah, it just didn't work. It's a movie that really did not work at all. It's not a very exciting mystery. You could pretty much tell what it's going to be. And despite a promising cast, it doesn't work. It's a movie that you look at and see, even if you weren't going into bankruptcy, you could probably see why Orion would never put this out in theaters unless they desperately needed to make money. And sure enough, that turns out to be the case here. So that's China Moon. And with that said, on to the last movie, and that is Sirens.
A minister and his wife.
Do you want to? I'm not sure.
Well, you don't have to decide now. You wake me up if you do.
On a crusade against immorality.
Do you think the pictures actually damage people?
The last thing we want is a scandal. And I gather you want me to try and talk him around? I think an outsider has more of a chance of getting through to him than any of us locals.
Together, they'll visit an enchanted place where a controversial artist
I like a little opposition. It clears the mind. It's fortifying.
and his models
Lie on the ground with your eyes closed while he licks your belly button.
You're really shocking.
will teach them.
Try one of these.
You like her, don't you?
Well, of course he likes her, because then we wouldn't have a movie. Okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little bit. I haven't seen this movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. But I will say that this is actually one of the 3 movies that kind of brought the attention of Hugh Grant to most people across America here, because he had 3 movies that came out over the course of 3 weeks. This film, and then the next week we have 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and then the following week we have Roman Polanski's Bitter Moon. So he had these 3 movies that kind of jumped his star power internationally, and the other part of his career wasn't always off to the best starts, but we'll delve into that when we delve into 95, because that's when that thing happened that I'm going to be talking about. But other than that, like I said, I haven't seen this movie, but Sam Neill is in here. Elle Macpherson in one of her few acting roles she did during this time period. Portia de Rossi from Ally McBeal and Arrested Development is in here. Ben Mendelsohn as well. That's pretty much all I know about it. Like I said, I haven't really seen it. I haven't heard a lot of good things about it, though, so it's probably not one I'm going to rush out to see right away, but it is what it is, at least from what I know right now. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out, but not really my palette to actually look at right now by the movies I want to check out. But anyway, that's Sirens for you.
After a lifetime in the public eye, former First Lady Tess Carlisle retired to her Ohio home. But she did not go quietly.
What do we look like, waiters? Are we a bunch of waiters?
Just ask the Secret Service agent.
I can't do 3 more years of this.
Guarding Tess.
We are going to the opera in Columbus.
Mrs. Carlisle, that emergency alarm is diffused.
That alarm belongs to me, and I will use it by God anytime I see fit.
How is she these days? What's she like? I guess you could say she's several different personalities in one.
Well, one of her personalities called the White House last night and asked the president if he could arrange for you to stay on with her.
The president. We are not leaving this house until you are seated properly with your seatbelt firmly fastened. Nope. It's the worst assignment there is.
I need a price check and Lasso baby peas.
They're on special today, 2 for $59.
Copy that, Doug, but I believe we've lost interest in peas. Repeat, lost interest in peas.
Would you be kind enough to get my ball?
I'm a Secret Service agent, Mrs. Carlisle. Not a caddy. I told her. You want that ball, you go find it yourself. Come on. What are you, crazy?
I'd be very careful if I were you, Agent.
Doug, telephone. Please hold for the president.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Well, I'm not too good. I'm having a damn Tess Carlisle problem. Maybe you and I know what a pain in the butt she is, but this one is a national treasure.
I wouldn't tick her off. A couple of more phone calls to the White House, and you'll be
guarding my dog. You understand what I'm saying?
Go.
Doug, she took off. Tell them they're just out joyriding again. It's not a problem.
7 well-trained, heavily armed men can't take care of one little old lady.
Damn! You should have a martini. You should, better yet, give a tired old widow a break.
Shirley MacLaine.
With all due respect, why me?
Because I like you, Douglas.
Please hold for the president.
Nicolas Cage.
I don't get it myself. One day she calls me, says she can't live without you. Next day she's calling almost in tears. You know, maybe you two have some kind of sicko thing going on.
No, sir.
Guarding Tess.
I'm counting on you, and so's the country.
This is one of those comedies where it mostly works largely because of the people involved here. I think Shirley MacLaine does a very good job playing the former First Lady, and Nicolas Cage plays the Secret Service agent who has to protect her. And it's actually pretty funny. I like their chemistry that they have here. There are some legitimately funny moments in here. The story overall, we've seen this done over and over again. It's Driving Miss Daisy. It's The Bodyguard, except this time it's a Secret Service agent is protecting the First Lady of the United States. And honestly, yeah, it's a story you can kind of see coming a mile away. You can kind of see where it's going to go. But you don't mind it because the comedy really does work, and these two actors really do work off each other very well. I think Nicolas Cage really shows a lot in this movie. He really works he has to really work with this legendary actress and Shirley MacLaine. And the two of them, like I said, they work off each other very well, and it does make for an overall enjoyable movie. And from this director, Hugh Wilson, who I completely forgot that he started his directing the first Police Academy movie, which is the best of those movies, but that's not saying a whole lot because those movies do get worse and worse with every film. But he was putting out some decent movies around this time, because not only after he did this, he did The First Wives Club, which is a really funny movie that we'll get to eventually there, but he also did Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone, as well as the Dudley Do-Right movie, also with Brendan Fraser. And most of those weren't actually bad movies. They were actually kind of decent movies, but yeah, kind of like with this movie here. Good, not a great movie, but it does work with the two people that they have involved here, so give it the credit for that. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Paul Hogan in a chance to try to recapture his Crocodile Dundee success. Not working so well with this movie, Lightning Jack.
Hogan's back as Lightning Jack.
Oh, just now I'm good, real good.
And he's teaching his new partner everything he knows about gunplay, horseplay, and foreplay. Paul Hogan, Cuba Gooding Jr. Lightning Jack, rated PG-13.
a movie that kind of pretty much killed the buzz on Paul Hogan. I mean, his career didn't really fall off, but he wasn't getting any big movies after the Crocodile Dundee movies, and this, like I said, this was a chance to try to recapture that same success, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way, and you can kind of see why. It's a pretty lackluster movie all around. It's not really all that funny. It's not really all that inventive, and Cuba Gooding Jr. in this, I mean, talk about a movie that would rival some of his worst movies in Boat Trip and Radio. Like, who would have guessed that 2 years after this movie came out, he'd win an Oscar for Jerry Maguire? It's got Beverly D'Angelo in it and Pat Hingle, so there's that. But other than that, though, this is a comedy that really doesn't work so well. And I wouldn't say that this was the worst thing. That this is the thing that killed Paul Hogan's career, because he did have kind of a little bit of a resurgence later on. And we'll get to those couple of movies, but as we move along. But like I said, this movie really just doesn't work. It's a movie that's not really funny, not really all that creative. It's just kind of came and went. So with that said, let's move on to a much better comedy. Probably one of the best. We're actually starting to get to the really good comedies, because the rest of the other three movies that we have here are really, really good. Starting with this one here, and that is The Ref, starring Dennis Leary.
Dear Santa, the last time I wrote to you, I was 8 years old. That was more than 25 years ago. I know it's been a long time, but you're my last hope. I just don't know who else to turn to. You see, this year for Christmas, I want the same things I've always wanted. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and a jet. A big, fat, silver, giant, jumbo 747 jet. Shut up! I'm talking here. According to my records, I requested the same items on the afternoon of December 1st, 1965. Guess what? They never came. What I get instead? Vietnam, the Brady Bunch, and John Denver. Thanks. I'm 35 years old. You know what I got for Christmas last year? Socks. I hate socks. White socks, blue socks, sweat socks, tube socks, tube socks. What the? I won't even wear socks. I'd rather cut the fingers off some gloves and stick those in my feet. You got a pen, Santa? Because I'm updating my list, okay, pal? I want bikes and booze and baseball cards, cash, cabbage, money, moolah. I want toys and trucks and some assembly required. I want the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. I want the 17 snot green glow-in-the-dark frisbees. I want a couch. A chocolate couch, a big brown couch made completely out of chocolate so I can lay down, put my feet up, and start snacking. No Burl Ives, no Bing Crosby, no Herbie the Dentist, no Cindy Lou Who, no Sister Act 2, no Wayne's World 2, no Three Musketeers. Three Musketeers, I hate the Three Musketeers. I want it all, and I want it delivered to my house on the evening of December 24th, 1993, and if it's not there by midnight, I'm taking a hostage. Yes, tell your friend the Easter Bunny you can expect a call from me, too. What are you looking at?
And that teaser right there just shows you why Dennis Leary was so hilarious, because that's what he did on MTV a lot. Just go on these rants as the sarcastic funny man, and it works really well for him in this movie that's basically his leading film debut. And I mean, he's really, really good in this movie. This is a fantastic, underrated film directed by Ted Demme, and he's part of a cast that includes some of these very notable names. Like, you've got Judy Davis and Kevin Spacey playing the couple in this. Raymond G. Barry is also in here. Christine Baranski, Adam LaFerre, J.K. Simmons is in here. B.D. Wong. Just a phenomenal cast, and they all work off each other so well. Like, it's not just Dennis Leary that's getting the laughs in here. Everybody else in here is just having such a good time, and the script is very funny. It plays very well to Dennis Leary's comedy, and it's just a ton of fun. It's just a fantastic film. It's a movie that is a Christmas movie, honestly, but it's a Christmas film that kind of comes, well, it came out in the middle of March, so, and mostly I think it was because they had to actually reshoot the original ending of the movie, because test audiences responded poorly to it, so they basically shot a new ending in January of that year, and the film eventually came out 2 months later, which, I mean, I don't know. I actually have not seen the original ending, honestly, so I can't really comment on that part, but I have seen this movie so many times, and it's just a phenomenal film. I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen The Ref, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Watch it for Christmas, because as of the time of recording, it's December 23rd, so not too late to go and find it, and you should go and find it. It's a fantastic film. The Ref, great film. Next movie, and that is the aforementioned Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Good friends.
You look perfect. In fact, you probably are perfect.
Great lovers.
Far do you think too far would be then?
Maybe this.
Bad timing.
So I came after your fiancé?
No, you were 32.
Smashing climax.
It's pretty easy. Just say I do whenever anyone asks you a question.
I do.
Hugh Grant, Andy McDowell, Four Weddings and a Funeral, rated R.
Like I said last week, this was actually the second of 3 films that Hugh Grant was in that came out over the course of 3 different weeks that kind of propelled him to superstardom. And this is probably the best one of the 3. He's fantastic in this film. He plays a very good actor. He's very good in this movie, I should say, and he plays very well with the chemistry with him and Andy McDowell. Just a great cast overall here. Kristen Scott Thomas, John Hannah, Simon Callow, Rowan Atkinson's also in here. The brilliant writing of Richard Curtis. This is one of his movies that launched him into the stratosphere, because he later write some of the best romantic comedies that we've gotten in the last couple of decades, I should say. But it's just a brilliant movie. It's a brilliantly funny film. Great cast, great comedy, great writing overall. It's just a fantastic film. Can't recommend it enough. Four Weddings and a Funeral, such an amazing film. And that leads us to the last movie of the weekend, and probably one of the most underrated comedies of all time. One of the best movies from the Coen brothers. That is The Hudsucker Proxy.
Once upon a time, the American dream was power, wealth, and success. But in the city that never sleeps, the American dream is about to get a wake-up call.
Just got hired today. Entry level. But I got big ideas.
When the president and owner of 87% of the company's stock drops, then the company too has a problem. What we need now is a new president. Some jerk.
My life is on fire.
You can really push around.
You, boss! This letter was sent down this morning by the big man himself.
Yeah, go ahead. Try it on.
Did you consider you an idea man when they promoted you from the mailroom?
Well, I guess so. I don't think they promoted me because they thought I was a schmo.
The guy's a real moron.
Cigarette?
No, thank you.
What an imbecile. Come up with this.
From Joel and Ethan Coen.
It's fun, it's healthy, the kids will just love it, and we put a little sand inside to make the experience more pleasant.
Did you have any idea there'd be such a huge response?
This is the president. I don't think anybody expected this much hoopla.
Comes a comedy of fame, fortune, sex, greed, and the American way.
Say, Amy, how about you and I grab a little dinner or a show afterward? I was thinking maybe the King of how about Oklahoma?
Tim Robbins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Paul Newman.
I'm getting off this merry-go-round. Plexiglass. How do you think this?
The Hudsucker Proxy.
Like I said, this is just one of the most underrated comedies you'll ever see. I mean, this is a great film. At the time it came out, it was actually the first major misfire financially and critically for Joel and Ethan Coen, because they had just come off of so many different critically successful films like Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, and then Barton Fink. And honestly, this is a movie that really, I think, took a long time to for a lot of people to really appreciate how great of a movie it is. Like, visually, just that trailer alone just shows you all these great visuals that they have in here. And just, it's so uniquely filmed. It's a very unique film that's being made here. And give a lot of credit to Roger Deakins, the cinematographer, for this. He does a great job with the cinematography in this. And you got a script co-written by Sam Raimi, too. And I get that also adds into the elements here, too. And you can definitely see Raimi's influence on this movie. The writing is just so sharp, it's so funny, it's so satirical, and just the cast overall is fantastic. Tim Robbins is great as always. Jennifer Jason Leigh as the love interest is really good. Paul Newman is hilarious in this movie, and so is Charles Durning in here. I mean, if you're not convinced by the opening scene where Charles Durning's Hudsucker character flies out the window, killing himself, then honestly this movie probably won't sell you, which Then again, probably a lot of people weren't sold on this movie, which is a shame, because it is still a fantastic film, and I'm glad it has grown to have that cult following almost 30 years later, and it really is a delightful film. It's a very unique film, a very funny film. I can't recommend it enough. The Hudsucker Proxy, check it out. If you haven't seen it, you are really doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Check it out. You will not be disappointed by it.
When law-abiding citizens are forced to live in fear, we look for protection to one man. Lieutenant Frank Drebin is back. This time, he's going undercover in the big house.
Where's your prison number?
It's unlisted. And playing the deadliest game of all.
That damn blue! Don't get your head out of my pocket!
But Police Squad desperately needs him back because a mad bomber is about to blow up Hollywood's biggest bash. And if anyone can stop him, so can Frank.
Hold on. Sergeant Frank Drebin, Detective Lieutenant Police Squad. Yeah, and I'm Robert De Niro. Mr. De Niro, we've got to get inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present the...
We're here to prevent a disaster.
You're too late for that.
That's the guy!
Starring Leslie Nielsen as Lieutenant Frank Drebin. Priscilla Presley as Jane. Anna Nicole Smith as Tanya. Fred Ward as Rocco.
Please, and nobody gets hurt.
Well, from now on. Anna Nicole Smith as Tanya. George Kennedy as Ed. O.J. Simpson as Nordberg. And introducing Anna Nicole Smith as Tanya.
Have you seen my pigeon?
Naked Gun 33 and a third. The Final Insult. The movie that hits crime where it hurts. This picture contains mostly all new jokes. May play slightly funnier east of the Rockies.
So like I said, this is the final installment of the Naked Gun series, and this is the one that most people would say is the weakest of the three films, which, I mean, I can't argue with them on that, but that doesn't mean it's a terrible movie. Far from it. It's still legitimately a very funny movie. I mean, right from the beginning of the movie, the Untouchables parody that they have at the beginning, which actually was supposed to be part of the first movie, they never filmed it. They filmed it for the second movie, they cut it from there, and then finally they decided to put it into this movie, and it's a really good scene. It's a really hilarious scene. It just gets you set for the comedy that you're about to head into here. And the rest of the movie overall is still very funny. There are still a lot of great jokes in here. Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley, once again, they're great as Frank and Jane. I mean, Leslie Nielsen he owns this character. It's going to be hard to top this performance when they're going to do this remake that they're supposedly doing now with Liam Neeson and the role there, which Liam Neeson can be very funny, but he's got big shoes to fill, though, because really Leslie Nielsen is just too hard to top in this and in these movies. And like I said before, it is still very funny, and it's still funny even with a different director. This is the first time that they brought in an outside person to direct this film. The person here being Peter Siegel, which I've really liked a lot of his movies. We're going to be delving into a lot of his movies that coming up in these next couple of years that we'll be looking at. And he's made some really funny movies. Like, he's made a lot of great comedies. One of my favorite movies of all time, Tommy Boy, he made. He also did criminally underrated films like My Fellow Americans. He did a couple of the best Adam Sandler movies, 50 First Dates, Anger Management, The Longest Yard. He did Nutty Professor to the Clumps, Get Smart, Grudge Match. Recently he did My Spy. He's actually made a lot of really good comedies, really funny comedies, and he's probably overall one of my favorite comedy directors because of the fact that he just keeps making these really funny movies one after another, and this movie is no exception. And it's just a ton of fun all around. Like, it's a movie I go back to all the time. Like I said, it doesn't have the same amount of good humor that the first two films do. It actually does kind of slump a little bit in the middle of the film, but by the end of it, you're just back into it, man. I mean, it's just a fun movie all around. Fred Ward plays a great villain here. A lot of people didn't like Anna Nicole Smith in this, and also in the Hudsucker Proxy, but I don't know. I thought she was playing the obvious kind of the bimbo bombshell type of character that she was kind of known for. It's because most of people know her from the work in Playboy. They're not asking her to really act all that much. In fact, it's funny because like on specifically for the commentary for this movie, I remember Peter Siegel talking about how Anna Nicole Smith actually had to look at various things to actually get a reaction. Like I think it was the scene where Frank goes to the clinic and he talks about how whenever she was on screen, she actually had to look at a couple things like a tennis ball, and then on one other side something else. I can't remember what it was because it's been a long time since I listened to it. But I mean, she does what she has to do here, and you got Kathleen Freeman in here, which is a great actor, great character actress all around. And they even brought back Pap Smear from the first Naked Gun movie, which is very interesting. I didn't think they'd find a way to bring him in there, but yeah, like I said, there's good funny moments in here. Not as many as the first two movies, but it's still a wonderfully funny film. Just a solid end to what I think is one of the great comedy trilogies. I can go back and watch these movies any single time, and I will never get bored by them. They're just great movies all around. I love them. I can't get enough of them. Need I say more? Naked Gun 33 and a third. A good end to a really good trilogy of films. And, yeah, they're just great films all around. So that's that movie. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Thora Birch starring in Monkey Trouble.
Eva Gregory wanted a pet.
This is a Rottweiler, best dog in the world.
Her parents didn't.
You're not responsible enough to care for a dog.
But then a monkey named Dodger dropped into her life. He's unpredictable. Uncivilized.
Ugh, gross.
And she's got to keep him undercover.
What's up with her?
What are you doing?
I'm just, no. Because I have to get rid of you.
He's a party animal. Who's born to be wild.
He can't pick up right now.
But a man from his past is about to wreck their future.
Would you mind if I tack these up around the park?
Because Dodger's best trick
My wallet's gone. Where did you get it?
is Eva's worst nightmare.
There was a big bucket in the ground. You ripped off this stuff too? Oh my God! This is horrible.
Now everyone's on this monkey's tail.
Let's go.
People say we monkey around. We're too busy singing.
I don't know anything about any monkey.
We're just trying to be friendly. Come and watch singing.
How could you do this to me?
We're the young generation. And we've got something to say. Yeah, we're the monkeys. And people say we monkey around. We're too busy.
It's more fun than humanly possible. Monkey Trouble.
Boy, that trailer was all over the place. Like, you had all these different musical cues there. The only bit of there that makes sense was having the Monkeys theme song in there, but even then, it's just kind of randomly thrown in there. And that's kind of like this movie overall. You think by that trailer, you're going to get what you're going to get. It's a movie that really isn't going to wow you in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be kind of run-of-the-mill. It could be downright terrible, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen of this type of a film. It's just kind of there. It exists. It doesn't really have anything too exciting or too intriguing about it. There's not a lot of good laughs into it. I guess Harvey Keitel's having a good time playing the bad guy in this. You got Christopher McDonald, great actor who you've seen in tons of movies. Mimi Rogers is in here playing the mother, and Thora Birch from Patriot Games. She grew up to be, she grew up to be a great actress, but in here, I think she's playing a decent role here. There's nothing about this movie that really wows me all that much. I watched it as a kid, and it's not one that I've really wanted to go back to all that often. Probably the most shocking thing I found out about this recently was that Ridley Scott actually produced this movie, and you would have never guessed that. But his name is attached to it. He's one of the producers on it, and if that's probably the most memorable thing about this movie, then really there's not really a whole lot there to really talk about. But I remember watching it as a kid, thought it was all right. I've never had the interest to go back and watch it again. So That's Monkey Trouble. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Jamie Lee Curtis in Mother's Boys.
They had made a life for themselves without her.
You left those boys. It took me a long time to forgive myself.
But things are about to change.
I want you out of here.
I should have never left.
You're right, you should have never left.
Because Jude's come back.
She wants to see you all.
She left us. I don't want to see her.
It's over, Jude. I don't love you anymore.
And this divorce
Sizing up the competition.
There's no competition.
is going to be a nightmare.
I want to come home, and she won't let me.
Robert, this is Kelly. You better get over here right now.
You just have to stop whatever it is you're doing.
All I ever wanted was for us to be happy.
Stay away from us! The law's on her side. She's their mother.
She's got your dad under some kind of spell.
She's probably a sociopath.
Shut up.
So there's nothing you can do. You could lose the boys.
Do something. Do you see what you've done? Mother!
Jamie Lee Curtis, Peter Gallagher, Joanne Whalley-Kilmer, and Vanessa Redgrave. Mother's Boys.
What the hell is this movie supposed to be? I mean, it's called a psychological thriller, but I don't know what they're trying to sell this as. Are they trying to sell this as like a horror movie or something? Because literally that cutoff point that I had there, as soon as I cut it off, a scene literally shows up where Peter Gallagher's character just jumps at the screen like it's supposed to be like a horror movie. It's just like, what were you trying to sell this movie as? Because like, I'd never even heard of this movie until I did the research on it, and judging by the fact that this trailer doesn't know how to market itself, you can kind of see why it didn't do so well. It was not seen as a big hit. It actually was a huge failure at the box office, and I was looking at this and thinking, what's going on with this movie? And then I realized that one of the production companies behind it was CBS, and not surprisingly, this movie feels like a CBS TV movie of the week, and we get a lot of these every once in a while. These movies that think they need to be cinematic, but this is a movie that really doesn't feel like it needs to be cinematic whatsoever. This is just a story that you see all the time in the TV movie of the week or a Lifetime TV of the movie of the week. Like, I keep expecting to see the date for when this is going to air on CBS or NBC there, because this is something that you would definitely see as the movie of the week, and it just doesn't look good whatsoever. It looks like a really, really confused movie of what it was to be. That's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So that's Mother's Boys, a bizarrely looking film. How about we move on to some positive movies here, some good movies, I should say. Here's one of Ron Howard's best movies, and that is The Paper.
99% of your time and effort goes into three basic things: your house, your work, your family.
Henry, you know those days that can change your whole life? This is one of them for us. For good or bad, it can happen either way today. So, don't blow it.
And all three of them pulling you at once in different directions.
Every day, I'm behind from the minute I get up. I walk, talk, and think as fast as I can just to keep my head above water. Wait a minute! It's not even, it'll be too... Look, listen to me. Ow!
If you put them all together, three of them want more than you gotta give.
I'm on my way out at 8:25, and I just happened to notice that our presses aren't running. It strikes me as rather odd, since we are, after all, a newspaper.
Gotta go. First of all, you look fabulous.
Your family, they're people, and so you figure you can get a little human leeway there. You figure they'll bend.
You listen, Henry!
listen.
You don't see!
Of course I see. See what?
So, what do you do about that?
What is that, a gun?
I told you, Sandusky's after me.
When did you get so paranoid?
When they started plotting against me.
You want to run the story? You got 5 hours until 8 o'clock. Go get the story.
Boy, what if these aren't the guys? What if there is?
It's
retain him today, we make him look good on Saturday. Everybody's happy.
I saw the investor list.
You are so good. Do you know how good you are at this? You drive me crazy when you're like this. But what are you wearing?
It's wrong.
Not for today, it's not. Tomorrow it's wrong. We only have to be right for a day.
People will read this, Alicia, and they'll believe us. Don't just take a position because it's the opposite of what she says. It's like watching a bunch of sixth graders.
This is so good. I'm running this tonight.
Tomorrow it's fine. Tomorrow.
No. Today.
Tomorrow.
Don't take the bat out of my hand. It's the ninth inning. You know what this is like. I gotta get the quote. The guy's not gonna be there all night. I gotta get it.
We run what we got. What the hell is going on?
Are you nuts?
God, I missed this place.
The Paper on video cassette.
So kind of like with the Hudsucker Proxy last week, this is probably one of Ron Howard's most underrated movies, if not his most underrated movie, because this is a brilliantly made film. You're basically following the day in the life of this newspaper editor played by Michael Keaton, and he gets caught up in the story about the murder of these businessmen who, and as a reporter, he finds this evidence suggesting that there's a police cover-up of the evidence of the suspect's innocence, and he tries to rush the story out here to try to clear their names. But the whole thing is that they want to get this out quickly, and Glenn Close's idea is that you have to be right. You could be wrong today and be right again tomorrow, and it's kind of an interesting take on the newspaper world. I mean, this is a movie that really, like, long before Spotlight became what it became, like Spotlight eventually won Best Picture, which is a really good movie. But this is what I think of when I think of a really good movie about the newspaper world. This is just such a brilliantly made film. Michael Keaton is great in here. The cast overall is great here. You got Michael Keaton, Glenn Close, Marissa Tomei, Randy Quaid, Robert Duvall. Just a phenomenal cast in here. And it's very satirical, very funny, very intense, and you just buy into the story. You get so invested in how this is going to end up, and that's what a good movie should really do. Like, you should really be on the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next. How is this going to end up? And I really enjoy this movie a whole lot. Like I said, I think it's Ron Howard's most underrated movie. Actually, one of his underrated movies, because another one of his because I think his most underrated movie is Ed TV, but that won't come out for another 5 years. But I really enjoy this movie a whole lot. I think this is a fantastic film. If you haven't seen The Paper, definitely check it out. It's definitely one of the best movies from 1994. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Roman Polanski's Bitter Moon.
Thank you, darling.
Why on earth go to India?
I think we felt we needed a break from the rat race, really.
It's my anniversary treat. We've been married for 7 years.
Ah, so it's a form of marital therapy.
You're Nigel, aren't you?
Sorry. Do I know you?
I'm her husband. You can have her, Nigel, with my blessings on one condition. You hear me out. I hope you'll find my story interesting.
You mustn't believe all he says. He's a sick man. He imagines things.
You've got the hops for her.
Feel sorry for the girl, that's all.
So sorry that your tongue's hanging out.
Do you want her? Yes or no? You still don't know me at all.
Nigel, you have to explain.
When can we be alone together?
What, you mean it's still just a game?
Did I ever say it wasn't?
It's hard to relate to something that doesn't concern you. Maybe it already does.
So this is the last of the 3 movies that came out over the course of 3 weeks with Hugh Grant in them. You also got Peter Coyote, Emmanuel Siegner, and also Kristen Scott Thomas. And mostly this movie doesn't really feel like it's doing anything different than other movies compared to this, like other movies with a similar premise to this. But, I mean, I don't think it's that terrible of a movie. I just don't think it's something that's really, like, amazing. I just think it's a showcase for these really good actors to show that they could work on something like this and actually make it work out in the end. That's just my thinking of it. I saw it once a couple years ago, and it didn't really leave much of a lasting impact, even with a score by Ben Gallows, who's best known for Chariots of Fire. I just thought it was just okay of a score. I thought the movie, it's basically a sum up of everything about the movie itself. It's just an okay film. I think the performances make it worth watching. I think it's an interesting concept for some of these characters. But other than that, though, it's nothing really all that interesting or exciting. It's definitely the lesser of the three films that Hugh Grant was in at this time period. And it was sitting on a shelf for a couple of years, so that probably really doesn't tell you that anything good comes out of this, but I don't know. I thought it was alright for a one-time viewing. It doesn't really hold up on repeat viewings, honestly. It's one of those movies that's just kind of like, it's there, but, you know, compared to some of what Roman Polanski did in his later career as a director, I've seen much worse from him, so that's Bitter Moon. Let's move on to the last movie here, and I'm going to get this title right here, because I think I got it wrong the last time I talked about it. The last movie that we have here is The Wonderful Horrible Life of Leni Riefenstahl. I don't think that was a trailer. I think that was actually just part of the opening of the movie. But I don't know because I haven't seen this movie. But it does kind of make me want to see it. This is a very fascinating story about this cinematographer, film director, photographer, actress, Leni Riefenstahl, who was mostly known for her role in producing Nazi propaganda, because she did this during this was around the 1930s in Berlin, the 1930 Summer Olympics. She did a couple of documentaries about is Olympia. She did Triumph of the Will. She was there for when Hitler was taking over. And, I mean, it looks like a very intriguing documentary, because you see in that little clip there a mix of both the older footage and the newer footage of her, like, in the water and, like, taking these pictures and being part of these cultures that they show in this little clip there. And, it does make me kind of interested to see this movie and learn more about this. Like, this is one of those documentaries that I'd definitely be interested in checking out one day. Probably won't do it very soon, but if it shows up at one point, in a way I could watch it quickly, I'd probably definitely check it out. But that's pretty much all I got for you there. I haven't seen this movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. But it's pretty. It looks like a pretty interesting film. The Wonderful Horrible Life of Leni Riefenstahl. Leni Riefenstahl, I should say.
The only thing tougher than turning losers into champions is doing it twice.
Quack Attack is back, Jack! Are you ready to fly?
The Mighty Ducks are back. Their game is as good as ever.
Haven't you guys been training in the off-season? I knew we forgot something.
But they're adding some new players. And now they're heading to California for the World Championships.
This year, the team to beat is Iceland. Let's see you on the ice. Iceland's bigger, stronger, and more facial hair.
But if they want to go for the gold, they'll have to learn to become a team again.
Move together! We came here as a team, and we're leaving here as special team.
Right, scream on, we're ready.
Emilio Estevez.
Stand tall. Fly straight. USA!
Walt Disney Home Video presents D2. The Mighty Ducks are back. Now available on...
I mean, you got to give them the balls to try to pretend that that's not the Back to the Future theme song. But I mean, come on, man. Like, you could change some of the musical notes around, but all I'm going to hear is the theme to Back to the Future when I'm listening to that score from the trailer. I mean, they had a lot of balls to try to pretend that that wasn't that. But but that's the trailer, though. As far as this movie goes, it's pretty much the same as the first movie, except it's on a grander scale, a much bigger scale. But you know what? I love this movie, man. Like, I think this is easily the best film in the series, honestly. It's the movie that has the most memorable moments, it has the most memorable bad guys, it has the most memorable moments of the entire series. Like, whenever you think of the best moments in the series, this is the movie it definitely comes from. I mean, just everything about this movie just works so well. It's just a ton of fun, and it's silly, it's ridiculous, but God, when the grand epic moments happen in this movie, you can't help but get so invested. Just the way they shoot some of these scenes, like the one line I'll always take from this is "the goalie" from the opposing hockey coach, the coach from Iceland.
Tyler Willett, he's up the puck.
Like, how hard is it to not get excited for that after you see something like that? After you see how they just pull this whole thing off beforehand, like, it's ridiculous. It makes no sense in real hockey. That probably would be a penalty. But you know what? I'll be damned if it's not an entertaining movie. I mean, like, it's just so much fun around it. I mean, everything about this movie just works so well. It is silly. It is ridiculous, but you can't help but really appreciate what they did in this movie. And I mean, just so much about this movie works so well. Even the music for this movie is amazing. Like once you hear the song "Rock the Pond," it will never come out of your head, at least for another couple of weeks. I mean, just listen to how badass this is. Not even the WTF-ness of the Anaheim Ducks first game in 1993 could make that song could make that song not badass. Seriously, go watch that video. It's perfect 90s cheese, but 90s Disney cheese, and that's just amazing to watch. Like, I can't show you the whole thing because of copyright issues. I'm probably going to get copyrighted for just including parts of the song alone, but you know what? I'm trying to make a point here, and you just need to watch the video, man. But and watch D2 The Mighty Ducks. I mean, like I said, it's not a good movie. It's basically just a retread of the first movie, except on a bigger scale, but I'll be damned if it's not the most enjoyable film in the series. It's the one I can always go back to if I want to watch the best film in the series. It's definitely this one. D2 The Mighty Ducks. I can't recommend it enough. If you love the original Mighty Ducks, you're definitely going to love the hell out of this one. So, with that said, that's D2 The Mighty Ducks. So let's go ahead and move on to the second movie and the last movie on this particular week, and that is Tupac Shakur in Above the Rim.
I gotta do something to keep my head straight, you know what I'm saying?
Here we go, turn it up, let it start. From block to block, snatching hearts and jacking marks. And the police can't fake me a lick. You can have beats so cheap. But right now I got my mind set up. Looking down the power of the car, get up. Cause it's time to make the payback back to my brothers on the block. Better stay strapped, black. And accept no substitutes. I bring truth to the youth, tear the roof of the whole school. Oh no, I'm turning at the cheek.
In a world where every point counts, the hardest part of winning is choosing sides.
Now, I don't care if you don't believe in me. I'm gonna make it anyway.
Above the Rim.
So we talked about the Harlem trilogy by this writer, Barry Michael Cooper, who also did New Jack City, which is easily the best of the three films, and also Sugar Hill, which was not very good, probably the weakest of the three. This one's kind of in the middle. You basically have the story of this promising New York City basketball star and his relationships with a drug dealer and a former basketball star and now employed as a security guard at the high school. He was a promising young star many years ago, and for the most part, the story is kind of where you think it's going to go. Yeah, like I said, you've seen this story done so many times before, but it's the acting that really does pull it through. You have Dwayne Martin in here, a great actor, who actually, his character is loosely based on Allen Iverson, who of course went on to become a big star in the NBA. Leon from Cool Runnings, Bernie Mac is in here as no, I thought he was the janitor. He's not the janitor in this. Marlon Wayans is also in here, and you have Tupac Shakur, which really, another great performance by Tupac Shakur. I mean, he really showed that he had the chops to be a really damn good actor. And believe it or not, this was actually the last movie I believe he did before he died in 1996. That came out during the time he was alive. He had a couple other movies that he made beforehand, which before his death, and then came out afterwards. But this was the last one he did that came out during his lifespan. And like I said, he's really fantastic in this movie. He definitely does show his potential as an actor. And it's a shame that we never got to really see anything grand after this movie came out. I mean, the last couple movies he did weren't bad, but this, Juice and Poetic Justice were just great early movies of him in the prime of his career. And like I said, the movie overall is a decently made film. I don't think it has that same lasting power as something like New Jack City, but it definitely is a lot better than something like Sugar Hill. I think it works kind of in the middle. It has kind of a formulaic story, but I think it's the performances in here that really do keep it together. Like the performances overall make it stand out more than I think it has any right to be. It's a really good movie. Not a great movie overall, but I'm glad I saw it, and maybe I'll watch it again some other time. But that's pretty much my thoughts on this one. That's Above the Rim.